This is a weird camera, but we're live. Look at all this space. Welcome to the Astrology 101 class. I did get my computer fixed, but I haven't been able to get a new camera yet because there's so much research involved and I have some other things that I'm doing, so I want to make sure that I get the right one. But I did have another on like another webcam, so I'm using that, and this is just wild. Look at all this space. Anyways, it's great because then I can download this video and edit it and add bloops and blops to it. This is actually really great for editing. So anyways, I'm glad that you're here. Thank you for your patience with that break. I honestly, my computer has been kind of breaking down for a little bit, and I took too long to fix it is basically what happened. And then the supermoon in Capricorn kind of forced me to fix it, which is fine because I needed to like progress my finances. So it is what it is. If you can, I just want to write in the chat that when people are here, I don't know if anyone's even coming, who's coming to this class. I saw 2 people in here, but I don't always trust what this says because it's not always right. So if there is any people in this class, make sure you say hi. But if not, I'm just going to keep going and pushing forward because that's what we have planned for tonight. So what you're going to need for this class, if you didn't have a chance to grab the workbook, it is in the post. I think I posted it at 5:55. It was a scheduled post, and so you can just get that. The workbook, I just printed mine off in black and white because I've been doing a lot of printing, so yours can be in color or not. But this is the workbook. It is about 11 pages, I think. Oh, I got a hair on my, there we go. It is 11 pages, and it also, sorry, cat hairs. It also includes like a little cheat sheet as well. Hello. I think you're the only one in here. I'm just running a class for no one today. I'm sure people will come, or they're not, or they won't. They'll just watch the replay later. But how are you? Just side note, because it's just you and I quickly. Can I just quickly tell you, sorry for gabbing your ear off about it, but I am pumped. I'm at like 97% moving to Costa Rica. So, yeah, I'm really, really freaking pumped up about that. Oop. Pretty much everyone I tell so far is like, yo, I have a friend there, or I want to move there. It's like, it's so great. Okay. So, yeah, are you sticking around for the class? Are you going to do the class? It's actually a pretty cool class, to be honest. I'm just going to record this video like I'm recording it for a YouTube video, and I'm going to use this video anyway. So no matter what, whether there's 0 people or whether there's people, it's going to be a great video no matter what, because that's what I'm doing now. So, yeah. No, you're totally fine. I always feel like I overwhelm people with my talkings. So just don't even worry ever. There's never any pressure to respond to me. And I'm not always going to reply back to you right away. I just had a lot of questions yesterday. I think yesterday was like me actually like jumping over the fence. Those were my last few questions I got solved within the last couple of days. So I'm just going to do it. All right. But yeah. Oh, sweet. Yeah, I bet this is going to be pretty easy for you. So, honestly, there was a couple people that were going to come to it, but I guess people are just relying on the replays. So that's okay. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for coming to my class. I didn't have time to promote anything because I've been doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes. So I really did not expect a big turnout for this class. But my goal is consistency. So we're sticking with the schedule no matter what. And I showed up directly on time. All right. So in this class, introduction to me. Hi, I'm Kendra, your no BS spiritual baddie best friend. I feel like it's starting to sound like, hi, but what was that TikTok trend? And my mom is, but my dad, like, anyways. So fun fact about me, I've dabbled in astrology for a few years, but I've only just dived deep, super kind of deep into it within the last couple of years, mostly just due to people wanting to learn more about it on TikTok. I use astrology mostly when I'm feeling stuck, because I do find if you are using it too much that you can create kind of subconscious boundaries for yourself, right? Like if you read something in your chart that's like, oh, you'd be best doing this kind of job, and then something else pops up and it doesn't align with that. Some people might not take those good opportunities that could actually be stepping stones for you getting to that thing you want just because it doesn't say it in their birth chart, honestly. So yeah, some people just like live by this, which I also think is a little wild because we're still discovering celestial bodies. Space is changing all of the time. We're just humans on a planet that we are figuring out patterns, and we're pretty good at it, but it's not a perfect system. There's no such thing as perfect. So yeah, my journey with astrology is kind of as compared to other astrologies, kind of new. But I don't think we need to compare. That's not kind of my thing. My thing is helping mix astrology with mental health resources and making it accessible for people who are spiritual or not spiritual, because you don't need to be spiritual to use astrology. And I think like due to like there was a social media time in the beginning where astrology was like wildly, like it was off the rails. Like people were just saying the wildest stuff because nobody was keeping them in check. And I think I kind of helped with that, to be honest. I'm like, no, you can manifest whenever you feel like doing it. It doesn't matter if it's an eclipse or, a dark or black moon. Like, if you feel like doing it, you should probably go with that because life's happening and you never know when you're going to feel like that again, right? So, anyways, I do have a little lesson plan here, and I hope it's okay that I just follow it because, again, these are new classes to me. This is actually my first astrology class, so that's exciting, but also nerve wracking. What we're going to be, and there's also so many different types of astrology as well. That's also something I want to say. There are so many different types of astrology. So you could learn something like I actually use a lot of the only. I'll show it to you. Oh no, I'm not, because I don't want to mess up my things over there. The only astrology book that you'll ever need. And I use that, but I actually noticed that because it was written so long ago, we've learned more about space. And if I only go off that, the actual space facts are wrong. Like we've actually adjusted like what we've learned about the planets and stuff since this book has come out. So if you're only using one resource, even just for basic astrology, you might be missing something. So I actually use a mix of the only astrology book you'll ever need, a couple of websites, astro.com, cafeastrology.com, and NASA. I use NASA because they will tell you like how many rings Neptune has, how many that stuff was actually wrong in the book. So I made a post using information out of this, and then I double checked NASA and it was wrong, so I had to change it. But yeah, we discover new things all the time. So keeping that in mind, I'm going to teach you, some basic astrology and how you can start reading your birth chart. If you look in the workbook, which is really fun, don't judge this one. I need to clean my printer head, but I made this like little chart for you to actually plot a birth chart on from start to finish if you want to learn how to do that. And I had to put all of the degrees in here. I couldn't download one off the internet. There was not a good version of a blank birth chart with all of the degrees on it, but that were blank here on the internet. I had to do this. It was very time consuming, but it's okay. It's there for you guys. All right, let's get to it. Why is astrology great? It's a great tool for self-awareness and understanding. It can provide insights into various aspects into your life and personalities. Personalities. It's good for self-reflection. It encourages you to explore your strengths, weaknesses, and unique qualities. And studying your birth chart and their position of the planets can help you understand different motivations and why you do things. It can also help you understand relationships. That's going to be a totally separate class, and I bet you that class is going to be packed, but I might not let people join the further classes unless they join this class. Because I don't really want to host further down astrology classes and people go, oh, well, what's a degree? And I'm like, yo, we can't go. We're going to learn that in this class. So I'm going to host the Astrology 101 class again, but that might be a prerequisite for the further classes is that you have to attend this class or already know about astrology. I'll accept that, but yeah. Because it can get pretty intense and confusing if you don't start from square one. And there is kind of a square one where you can start. So that's where we're starting. It's also great for, but yeah, when it comes to relationships, you can compare other people's birth charts with yours, whatever. But we're not going to be comparing birth charts. We're not going to be diving into relationships today. It's good for helping you with life transitions. You can look at your birth chart and see you like areas where you will flourish better, jobs that you can do that will really align with the energy. It's actually super helpful for validation. I use it a lot for that. And self acceptance and validation. When you look at your birth chart, when you're like, oh man, I'm feeling lost or stuck, and you look at your birth chart and you're like, I really want to, yeah, should I do this thing? And you see it in there, yes, it can give you that validation. All right, so in this class, we're going to be talking about the planets, zodiac signs, degrees, and houses. And that is going to be it for this class. I did say we're going to be talking about aspects, but that's a lot. That's too much for one class. As I was writing the lesson plan, I was like, whoa, that's way too much. Anybody that's new to astrology, considering this is a 101 class, that would be too much. So we are going to talk about those 4 things. And you're also going to learn how to start reading and plotting your own birth chart. It's actually super fun. So I won't be able to answer every single question about every single person's birth chart, even if you drop them in the comments, because there are every single person has a different birth chart, and no one will have the same birth chart as you for 4,320,000 years. All right. So that is on top of that, there's 12 zodiac signs, 12 houses, and 10 planets that we're working with. So that's about 1,440 different combinations. And we're obviously not going to have time to go through that many combinations in the class. So, all right. Does anyone have any questions? I don't think there's not even anybody in here. So, well, YouTube says there isn't. So I'm going to just keep carrying on. But if you do have questions, if you pop into the class, just ask them in. Oh, you are still here? I knew YouTube was lying to me. By the way, if you do want to leave, I would not be sad, just saying. But YouTube says there's 0 people here. So is there anybody else other than Michelle that YouTube is lying to me? YouTube is like, you know what? There's people here, but we're just going to train your psyche that nobody showed up so that you just have to work through that and pretend that there's people. Thanks, YouTube. It literally says 0. So I'm glad you're still here. Okay, cool. What would be really helpful is if you think, like, because you know astrology, if there is like questions you think people would ask, if I'm missing something, please let me know. Again, this is my first time teaching an astrology 101 class, because there might be questions people will ask that I'm not gonna obviously have any idea what they're gonna ask, because it's just you and I. I'm not mad about it. It's honestly totally fine. That's what happens when you're inconsistent. Then you restart a schedule. Other people fall off of it, right? I expected this. So, in astrology, planets are celestial bodies that hold significant symbolic and energetic influences. They are the key components in interpreting and understanding your birth chart. All right. So they have a different aspect of they represent a different aspect of the human experience and carry specific symbolic meanings. So, for example, the sun represents self, vitality, and creative expression, while the Venus signifies love, beauty, and relationships. So each planet has a specific action, function, place it affects, and they radiate their unique energy and different aspects of your life. This is a lengthy lesson plan too, to be honest, and I'm missing some information. I got to clean the print head. When I stutter, it's because I looked down for a word and saw blank. All right. So everybody's birth chart is unique, like I said, and your birth chart will determine where the zodiac signs are, the house placements, and the planets. So your birth chart is an instant shot of all of space. Well, not all of it, because we're humans. We don't know all of it, but instant snapshot of space when you were born. That's what it is. All right. And that's why it's always changing, because we're orbiting and rotating, and every other planet is orbiting and rotating. That's why there's so many unique combinations for birth charts, because we're just flying through space, like whoosh, rotating and orbiting. And never mind. I'll keep that to we don't need to go through our space thoughts right now. So, these planets in your birth chart, they are going to be in a specific zodiac sign, in a house, and they're also going to have different relations to each other, and those are known as aspects. And as I mentioned, we're not going to talk about the different aspects in this class because there's a lot of them, but there is a cheat sheet in the back so that you can get versed up, or if you go before the next class, or dive deeper if you want to. Okay, so Planet significance. Let's talk about that. In the workbook, you'll notice there's a little question at the beginning. So I want to ask you before we get into it, why are you interested in astrology, or why did you start astrology in the first place? And what are you hoping to learn from this class? So that is the first question in this workbook. So personally, I don't know when I got this cat hairs, man. When I fully got interested in astrology would be, I feel like always. I've always had a slight interest in it, in space, always. I am an Aquarius. That is part of us, traits. But yeah, honestly, I actually can't remember. I know as I mentioned in the beginning, I full dive deep into it. When I started doing a lot more moon stuff. So before I used to just focus on the moon, but then I was like, yeah, we can definitely focus on more parts of space. So that's why we started doing that. So, but yes, you'll notice the rest of the workbook is like, it's got the sun, the moon, it's got all the planets there. It's so that you can write a little description as I'm talking. Okay. All right. Oh, I don't know if you can see it. Can you see it? Am I blocking it too much? Freaking cat hair. I gotta go look in the mirror. Sorry, guys. I feel like there's one just stuck. I got it. Sorry. Sometimes I do my makeup, and when I do my makeup, I like use the brush, and if there's one on there, I swear my house isn't filled with cat hair. I'm just a magnet to it. Even if my house was filled with cat hair, I would admit to it though. All right. Let's talk about it. Okay. So as mentioned, the planets have a different symbolism and characteristics depending on which planet it is. Okay. Then each planet is going to be in a different zodiac, which will affect that planet, and which house it is in will also affect the planet. So the sun is our core self, individuality, and life purpose. It symbolizes vitality, self-expression, and the desire to shine and be recognized. This is the significance and influence of the sun in different areas. Okay. And the placement of the sun in a birth chart highlights one's personality traits and general direction. The moon represents emotions, instincts, the subconscious mind, and the more maternal aspects. It reflects your emotional needs, nurturing qualities, and receptivity. And it also influences your moods, habits, and responses to your environment. It also relates to your connection to your past and sense of security. So this is why we do shadow work and stuff during the full moon. This is why the full moon is so much about emotions, is because it is the planet of emotions. I actually realize I don't talk about that enough on my anything. So I need to start. And that's also because I was mostly just mooning it, right? But yes, so again, we talk about emotions because the moon is bringing them up, and the moon is the planet of that. Mercury represents communication. Mercury retrograde, communication, right? People think Mercury retrograde is bad. We're not talking about retrogrades at all in this class, so this is the only thing I'm going to talk about it. And we have 7 of them coming up this summer. There's quite a few of them already started. But retrograde doesn't mean it's going backwards. It's just due to the rotation and the orbits, different speeds of orbits of the planets. All right. It's just like when there's 2 cars going down the highway, and one of them, it goes slower and the faster one starts speeding up, you kind of feel like you're going backwards. That's what it's like. So Mercury retrograde, people get really scared of it because it happens 3 to 4 times a year. It's just really prevalent because of its orbit of only 88 days. And also it's the planet of communication. So it's bringing up things that people need to communicate about. And honestly, I think people generally struggle with that topic. I'm just learning this. I studied communication a lot, just myself personally, to get better at it, because I wasn't. And the more you learn, the more you realize how much people actually struggle with communicating. So, but yeah, that's just why I feel like Mercury retrograde gives people a bit of a hard time. It's because a few reasons, but mainly that. Venus. Oh, right. Sorry. It also influences how you express yourself, learn, and gather information. It's all communication. And its placement in your birth chart indicates communication style, reasoning abilities, and areas of interest. Venus represents love, relationships, beauty, and harmony. It governs your desire for connection, pleasure, and aesthetics. It influences how you attract and appreciate love, as well as your values related to beauty, art, material possessions. I'm just laughing a bit because I kind of stayed pretty far away from Venus. Just personally been single for 3 years, so I need to maybe dive more into my Venus stuff. But me and Venus are kind of like, whatever. right now. Mars represents your energy and how you go after things, your passion, your drive, your assertiveness. It relates to your ambition, determination, and how you pursue goals. And it governs your capacity for taking action and overcoming obstacles. So awesome. Need to know that stuff. Jupiter represents expansion, growth, success, and abundance, optimism, wisdom, opportunities for expansion. All right. So where Jupiter is, you can look, that would be some opportunities where you could find major growth, because that's Jupiter's in the second house of Taurus right now. That's why I say right now is a great time for anybody that's making money moves, whether it be career, both of us like doing that, literal money moves, moving to do a different job in a totally different place. I'm not doing a totally different job, but in a totally place. But it's because Jupiter's in Taurus, which naturally rules the second house of money and possessions. So any decisions you make in this area just gets a little extra. All right, Saturn, responsibility, discipline, and it's the planet of lessons. So when people are talking about, oh, it's another retrograde, sorry. Saturn retrograde is because Saturn's a planet of lessons. It is usually when Saturn return is what I meant to say. Saturn retrograde, same thing, brings up lessons, but Saturn return is a big thing for people because it's when Saturn returns to you the same place it was when you were born. All right. So for those 3 years approximately that it takes to go through the sign, you will have the lessons, big lessons in that area because Saturn is the planet of that. So once you persevere and grow over those obstacles, and then you will, move into that next chapter of your life. And you can have 2 or 3 Saturn retrogrades in your life, depending on how long you live. So you could be doing a lot of learning. I'm 30, so I've already gone through one, but I don't remember when it was. And depending on what sign your Saturn is in will determine what lessons you will learn. But that's another thing for another class. So Uranus, individuality, originality, there's a line right through it, but rebellions against norms. It influences your need for freedom, unconventional thinking, and embracing unique qualities. Neptune represents spirituality, imaginations, transcendence, dreams, intuition, and connection with the collective unconscious. Honestly, those 2 planets, I'm still getting really acquainted with them because it can get a little tricky sometimes figuring out their influence directly. But I think that's also because they are about unconventional thinking and that kind of stuff, and spirituality, things that are not so black and white anyways. My black and white brain's like, what am I supposed to, what? So those 2 are like, they just were like, okay, the cool kids that I don't quite know that well, Pluto represents transformation, power, and regeneration, governs deep psychological processes, intense experiences and cycles, life, death, rebirth. It's personal growth and letting go of the past. And Pluto's retrograding Capricorn right now. I should never say I'm not going to talk about things again. Lesson learned. Because retrogrades are important. When those retrogrades happen, they bring up extra things in that area. Pluto is the planet of transformation, power, and letting go of things and new cycles. And Capricorn literally is the 10th house of career. So is it, I think anybody right now that is doing a big transformation in their career is definitely aligned with space. Because you are right in alignment with what's happening with the planets right now. If you are working on your home area, like making goals in your home because there's a new moon coming up in Cancer, if you are doing huge transformations with your career, if you're changing how you're making money in any way, like you're on it. Me and Michelle, on it. All right. Okay. So these descriptions are just the basic planets. There are some modern planets. I actually have them listed in the conclusion, but I'm going to decide to talk about them now instead. Because we're not going to dive deep into them. There's going to be another class for them. But, did it not print it? Oh, there they are. I don't even know how to say them properly because I haven't really studied them too much, so I'm probably going to get it wrong. Lilith, Aries. No, I'm going to say them all wrong. I'd embarrass myself. I don't know everything about astrology, all right? I do very traditional astrology. I've never claimed to know a lot about super modern astrology. I haven't gotten there yet. I think you should know the foundation first, all right? But is it Chiron? Is that how you say it? I don't know. Ceres, Eris, Lilith, and then your North Node and South Node. Those ones are not completely out of the blue for me. I do use those ones, but honestly, those other 3 ones and then all of the asteroids, I haven't quite got there on my learning. So we'll honestly I'll learn it before I teach it to you guys. And I think that's totally fine. I'll probably, yeah, it's just I haven't quite gotten there yet. I want to master what I know first. Okay, so does anybody have any questions about the planets, right? So the planets, just to wrap that up, the planets have certain characteristics and they will act in certain ways on your life, depending on where they are in your birth chart. That was very basic, okay? So in this workbook, there is a place. So when you look up your own birth chart, in this workbook, there is a place for you to fill out your own birth chart information, all right? So you can look up, so go to astro.com or cafeastrology.com and you can look up the top part and you can see the sun, what sign it's in, houses, and etc. Okay, so that's part of the workbook. If there's no questions there from the audience, I'm going to just give you a couple examples of what it would be like for planets to be in a certain sign, just so you have a kind of idea. There is, yes, I'm just going to read them. So, sun in Aries. A person with a sun in Aries, first symbol of zodiac, tends to be confident, assertive, and ambitious. They're natural leaders who enjoy taking charge and initiating action. They have a strong sense of individuality and can be impulsive and competitive. So, if you have your moon in Cancer, someone with a moon in Cancer is nurturing. Cancer rules the 4th house of home. Is nurturing, sensitive, deeply empathetic. They have a strong emotional connection to family and home. They often are intuitive and may have strong protective instincts about security, right? They seek emotional security and tend to be deeply caring and passionate. Mercury and Gemini. Individuals with Mercury and Gemini are curious, adaptable, and excellent communicators. They have a quick wit, love learning, and enjoy engaging in intellectual conversations. They are versatile in their thinking and can easily grasp complex ideas. Right? So you see how the planet is kind of taking on the energy of that zodiac sign and working together, and that's the energy that it's projecting. This is why reading birth charts can get kind of complicated. You're taking like so many different, like not so many, but like different aspects of things in space and like putting like, okay, if this planet does this, but it's like in really, yeah, right? Right. That's why we got to learn it. So Saturn and Capricorn. Those with Saturn and Capricorn are responsible, disciplined, and determined, right? Because Capricorn naturally rules the 10th house of career. They have strong work ethics, strive for success through hard work and perseverance. They're organized, reliable, and have a practical approach to life. Because Saturn is like your work, hard work. So Capricorns are naturally hardworking. That's part of the natural expression of that sign. So if that's how you're going to be working, hardworking Capricorns. Okay, so there are also planets that have a naturally ruling zodiac sign. Okay, so when you're looking at your different planets, if you have a sun in Leo, right? Leo is the naturally ruling sign. No problems. Now, Leo is the naturally ruling sign of the sun. Okay, so it is associated with creativity, self-expression, leadership, and a strong sense of identity, right? If your sun is in Leo. So planets are in the home sign. This is considered significant. It's awesome when this happens because it has a stronger, natural, and more harmonious expression of its true energy. So here are some implications. So you can have amplified expression, right? So like I just said, stronger characteristics of that planet and alignment and core identity. Having a planet in its home sign suggests a strong resonance between the planet's symbolism and your identity and natural expression of its energy. It's highly potent, but there also could be potential challenges, which is great. Some people see challenges and they're like, oh, this is going to be tough. Yes, challenges are tough, but also challenges allow you to learn new things and increase your vibration. And this is something I'm going to be reiterating a lot on every social media channel is like, again, fear has 2 meanings. Forget everything and run, or face everything and rise. And when you choose to overcome challenges, Like, there is great stuff on the other end of that. Like, I just went through some crazy challenges this week. That's why I haven't been really on social media. I've had to make a lot of big choices. Like, I don't have a car anymore, let's just say. Okay? So, I've had to make a lot of big choices in the past week, and it's a lot, but when something unexpected happens, you get to decide. You don't necessarily get to choose that unexpected challenge, but you get to choose how you're going to overcome it and what you're going to do with that. And I chose to go to Costa Rica. So, but yeah. All right. So there is, if you are doing the class tasks, all right, there is to go through all of this, figure out what zodiac sign, house, and degree all of your, I got a paper cut. All of your degrees, your planets are in. Okay, they're all the traditional ones up to Pluto. Yes, we're calling Pluto a planet. It's a celestial body, but whatever. Okay. I'm done with this Pluto. Is it a planet? Is it not a planet? I don't care. It's in space and it's in astrology. Okay. So there's also this little diagram here. Pardon me. If you have any planets in their natural signs, just circle them and then write them down there, so then you'll know. But if you have a planet in its home sign, it's generally positive, but there are some things that might arise, okay? Because it's an overexpression. It can be an overexpression of the planet's energy, right? So like a sun in Leo is great for like confidence and self-expression and stuff, but a sun in Leo can also be egotistical, and kind of stealing the spotlight. It's an overexpression as well, right? So a Saturn in Capricorn is great. You're hardworking, but you might also prioritize work over your family. You see how we can look into this and say, okay, Mercury in Gemini is great because I'm really communicative, but do I talk over other people? Do I listen? Is it right? It's so awesome. I love astrology. Okay. So your class task for that is to locate any planets in their home sign and figure out if you have any of those. That's right there. Okay. Any questions so far? We're crushing it. All couple of us. Nice. I think there's going to be a lot of people rewatching this, so I'm very much keeping in mind that people are going to be rewatching this. So I'm trying not to gabber too much. All right. Now, let's keep going. We have the planets, right? That's the basics. That's what we're starting with. You have your planets. You understand what those are like. Cool. Now, the houses. These are things that people talk about a lot, all right? Is Jupiter in the first house, Saturn in the third house, blah, 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 in this house. So the planets are going to be in a zodiac sign and in a house. And this is what you are going to be working through in your birth chart. And then you'll be working through the different aspects between the planets to each other, all right? The planets are all it. Okay, so the houses refer to the 12 divisions or sectors that divide the birth chart or horoscope. Each house represents a specific area of life and corresponds to a different aspect of your experience, characteristics, and circumstances. Understanding the concept of the houses is essential in interpreting your chart, just like the planets. And so how I'd like to talk about the planets is think of them as all of the houses of the town of you. Okay, if the town of you has all these different houses in it, and each house represents a different area and is responsible for a different thing. And when a planet pops into these houses, it accentuates that house depending on what that planet is, right? So we're talking about Mercury, which is the planet of communication, right? So you say it's in the third house. That is like triple. Say it's in Gemini, Mercury, Gemini in the third house. That is so much communication that you should be just communicating all your boundaries and everything during this time, right? Okay, so depending on the planet, it's going to light that up. And as I mentioned, there's 12 houses, 12 zodiac signs, and 10 planets that we're working with. So there's approximately 1,440 different combinations. I don't know them all, okay? So I really don't. This is why we have different astrology tools. I'm sure I will be way more comfortable with everything going forward. And yes, you can just learn what you know and make it up on the spot and kind of just read the patterns, right? That's kind of how this works. But there's a lot of combinations there. And I'm not as comfortable with Uranus and Neptune and certain signs in the zodiac because I'm just not. All right. I actually, certain ones that I don't, signs I'm confident with now, but there's certain signs that I don't know. Like I like to deal like with people that I know in person. There's just a lot of signs that I like. I know a lot of Capricorns, a lot of Pisces, and a lot of Aquariuses, and a lot of Cancers and Scorpios. But everything else is kind of like I'm just learning from books, and I like to have personal experience. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. But when you're reading birth charts, you just take what you know about each house and what it does, what you know about the zodiacs, and then put it together. All right. So, houses, let's make sure I didn't miss anything. There's other ways to read the houses too. It isn't just the 12 houses. There's house cusps, house systems, house rulers. There's a lot of different things when it comes to the houses. But again, just like the aspects, we're not going to dive super deep into that in this class. Okay. Because right now we're just talking about the basics, what things are and how to get started. All right. We'll dive into that in the next class. Okay. So let's go into the houses described. The first house, this is your rising, your ascendant. And it is your self, personality, physical appearance, and how others perceive you. It reflects your approach to life and your overall demeanor. Okay, your first house. Your second house of money and possessions. I'm just really working on that right now, so it's a big thing for me. It's your resources, finances, self-worth. It indicates how you value yourself, your relationship with money also. This is really important. And your material assets. Third house of communication. How you read, write, express yourself, all of that. It is just intellectual pursuits and relationships with close relatives. Want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Fourth house of home. Past, present, and future. It represents your home, family roots, and emotional foundation, one's relationship with your family, sense of security, and connection to your ancestral heritage, right? Astrology aside, we are biologically connected to our past as well, right? So this is not just something that is for astrology. Like, we really are. And this is why I like to mix astrology with mental health and shadow work, is a lot of people are dealing with cycles that weren't even created by them. That's a big theme for our generation. Mine specifically is people overcoming fears and limiting beliefs that their parents passed down to them, that their great parents passed down to them and stuff. We're overcoming huge things. We have been most of humanity, right? So we are biologically, emotionally, and everything attached to our past. So this is why I believe like the fourth house of home, all the houses are important, but that one's a pretty important one for now. Fifth house represents creativity, self-expression, romance, children, and hobbies. And it is artistic inclinations, passion project, love affairs, capacity for joy and fun. Sixth house of service and health. This is where you'll find your schedules, your approach to work, well-being, and your balance, and your habits and stuff. And also stuff about health. But I actually want to do some data research on whether that is actually like true, because there's like some stuff that is in this astrology book that's like, if you are a this, then this, you're definitely going to have problems with this. And it's like very specific. So I want to know, I might just put a post and be like, if you have, a Capricorn in this, do you struggle with this? I really want to know, because I have access to that data, which is really cool. All right. Seventh house, partnerships. And this isn't just personal partnerships. It is also work, but it can be marriages, relationships, significant others. It's your approach to relationships, your ideals in partners, and capacity for cooperation. Eighth house represents transformation, shared resources, intimacy, and the occult, spiritual stuff, right? It represents your attitude towards change, emotional depth, and your connection to the mysterious and hidden aspects of life. The eighth house is one of the mysterious houses. And that one is honestly a tricky one for me to sometimes figure out what's going on in. But other than that, the rest of them I'm pretty good with. But the eighth house, I'm like, I don't think we're supposed to know, to be honest. So ninth house, it's higher learning, mental exploration, and travel. It's your spirituality, also cultural experiences, your quest for knowledge, your belief system, your openness to exploring different cultures. I want to know what your ninth house is, Michelle. Like, do you have any planets in it, and what sign is it in? I'm curious to know. How long were you thinking about moving before you moved? Like, that's a big thing to do. And you're just like, hey, I'm moving. And then you moved. And I was like, wow, that's great.